The Lure of the Blank Space. San Francisco, California, July 8, 1879. The crowd at Pier 37 was electric, a cross-section of American high society and working-class ambition. Above the bustle, the Jeannette lay low in the water, a deceptive beauty. She was no ordinary steamer. Her hull was double-ribbed with massive oak and iron, designed to withstand the initial blows of the pack ice. Beneath her decks, a massive coal-fired engine waited, capable of driving her through the ice fields, or so they hoped. Lieutenant DeLong, a man whose dark, piercing eyes rarely betrayed emotion, stood on the bridge, his wife, Emma, clutching his hand. He was $10,000 in debt for preparing for this very expedition, a risk that was, to him, a sacred duty. His orders, straight from the U.S. Navy and bankrolled by Bennett, were to sail through the Bering Strait, navigate past Wrangel Island, a landmass only speculated to exist, and steam directly toward the pole. "The Arctic will yield to American enterprise," Bennett had declared in his paper, an echo of the manifest destiny that still gripped the young nation. DeLong looked at his crew. They were a diverse, formidable lot. The seasoned ice pilot, Chief Engineer George Melville, a man with a mind as sharp as the ice they were chasing. The dedicated ship's doctor, Dr. James Ambler, a man more accustomed to the genteel illnesses of Washington society than the brutal demands of polar survival. And the 25 others, firemen, whalers, sailors, all bound by the promise of glory and the lure of a blank space on the map. "We sail with the flag of the Republic and the spirit of the age," DeLong addressed the crowd, his voice firm. "We go where no man has trod. If we fail, let it be known that we failed pressing forward." The departure was grand. Cannons roared, steam whistles shrieked, and the anchors were raised. The Jeannette slipped out of the Golden Gate, heading north toward the desolate, uncharted world. They were not just an expedition. They were a geopolitical statement, a direct challenge to the British, who had long dominated polar exploration. This was America's turn. Chapter 2. The Freeze and the First Crushing Silence. The Siberian Sea, September 6, 1879. The transition from the temperate seas to the hostile Arctic was immediate and absolute. Within 6 weeks, the Jeannette had passed through the Bering Strait, a passage of choppy, angry water. The open sea DeLong had dreamed of was a myth. Instead, they encountered an endless, heaving white wilderness. Wrangel Island, their first objective, was sighted and confirmed, a win for the cartographers. But just north of it, disaster struck. The ice, which had been a gentle shifting puzzle, became a steel trap. It was a geological event, not merely a freeze. The Jeannette sailed into a colossal, newly formed pack. DeLong, relying on the assurances of his era's geography, ordered the ship to push forward, confident they could break through. They couldn't. On September 6th, the immense weight of the Arctic pressed in. The ship shuddered once, a sound like a pistol shot echoing through the iron plating. Then, silence. The Jeannette was fast in the ice. Position is 71 degrees 35 minutes north latitude, 175 degrees 6 minutes west longitude. God have mercy on us. The expectation was a week, maybe 2, for the ice to shift and release them. The reality was 655 days. For nearly 2 years, the Jeannette became an involuntary drifter, a prison of oak and iron, moving solely at the whim of the massive, indifferent polar currents. This period, an unprecedented scientific opportunity, became a psychological crucible. Fact detail for U.S. audience. The crew, cut off from the world, had to invent a new civilization within the ship. They set up an observatory on the ice, taking daily meteorological readings. They hunted seals and polar bears to supplement their dwindling naval rations. They established a strict regimen to fight the insidious depression of the long polar night, a darkness that lasted nearly 4 months. This was the first continuous American scientific outpost in the deep Arctic. Internal conflict. DeLong, a rigid disciplinarian, struggled with the loss of control. He knew the Navy would judge him for not turning back, for his hubris. The firemen fought the engineers over coal consumption. The sailors fought the endless boredom, resorting to elaborate games, theatricals, and endless storytelling to maintain sanity. They were 28 Americans, alone, at the top of the world, slowly being towed by a current that was an absolute mystery.